The hum of the engines filled the air as the plane ascended, cutting through the clouds, heading toward its next destination. To the average passenger, it was just another routine flight, a simple journey through the skies. But for Amelia Price, a journalist known for her tenacious pursuit of the truth, this flight held the key to a mystery far darker than anyone could imagine. Amelia had always been drawn to secrets, the kind that were buried deep in the world's most guarded files. It was a strange obsession, but one that had made her infamous in her field. She was about to uncover something that no one else dared to touch, something that had been kept hidden for years. The case she was investigating was one that had haunted the aviation industry for decades: the disappearance of Flight 287. Flight 287 had vanished without a trace during its mid-flight journey nearly a decade ago. And despite extensive investigations, the case was closed with no answers. The government had declared it a mystery, a file marked with unsolved stamped across its pages, left to gather dust in a forgotten corner of aviation history. But Amelia believed there was more to the story than the official reports led on. There were whispers, rumors of strange occurrences surrounding that flight, something far beyond just an unfortunate accident. Her interest in Flight 287 began when a retired air traffic controller who had worked the radar during that ill-fated flight reached out to her. He had information, something that never made it into the final report. His voice trembled as he spoke over the phone, warning her not to investigate any further. But Amelia's instincts were sharp, and she knew something was being hidden. The controller's cryptic words sent her digging deeper, uncovering a trail of unsettling anomalies that pointed toward a much darker conclusion. As she sat on the plane, her mind raced through the possibilities. What if Flight 287 hadn't simply crashed? What if the truth was far more sinister, something that had been covered up for years? The clues were scattered, buried in a web of secrecy and manipulation. Amelia had uncovered classified documents hidden away in the archives of an old aviation library. These files detailed unusual occurrences on several flights over the years, flights that had been mysteriously interrupted by unexplained phenomena. Sudden communication breakdowns, strange atmospheric disturbances, and most disturbingly, the disappearance of several aircraft without any wreckage. The closed case files she had managed to access told a story of a secret program within the aviation industry, one that had been operating under the radar for decades. It was said to be an experiment in advanced technology, something that could potentially revolutionize air travel. But it had unintended consequences. The files spoke of unexplainable disappearances, with no physical evidence, as if entire planes and their passengers had simply been erased from existence. And Flight 287 was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Amelia's eyes scanned the window beside her, watching the endless expanse of clouds roll beneath them. She felt a strange sensation, as if something was out of place, something that didn't belong. Her thoughts were interrupted when the flight attendant walked down the aisle, her cheerful expression a stark contrast to the intensity building in Amelia's mind. She smiled politely, but Amelia's gaze never left the flight attendant's face, noticing the subtle shift in her expression as she passed. It was then that Amelia realized that she wasn't alone in this investigation. There were others who were also watching, perhaps even orchestrating the mystery from the shadows. Her heart raced as she wondered who else knew the truth, and who was trying to keep it buried. The more Amelia dug, the more unsettling the details became. The closed files on these mysterious disappearances pointed toward a series of unusual events that had occurred in the weeks leading up to Flight 287's disappearance. Several key people involved in the investigation had been silenced. Some had disappeared themselves, while others had been found in inexplicable circumstances. Every lead seemed to end in a dead end, and the government's investigation had been anything but thorough. Amelia suspected that certain individuals were pulling the strings, hiding the truth from the public. As the plane continued its journey, Amelia's mind was consumed with one question. What had happened to the passengers and crew of Flight 287? Had they been part of a secret experiment, or was something far more dangerous at play? She felt a chill run down her spine as she realized that the answers to these questions could be closer than she ever imagined. The flight reached its cruising altitude and the cabin lights dimmed. Amelia settled back in her seat, her thoughts racing. She had made contact with a former engineer who'd worked on the aircraft involved in Flight 287. He had been part of a classified team that had developed a new type of navigation system, one that had been installed in the plane just days before its fateful flight. This new system, according to the engineer, had the ability to warp space-time, creating a temporary distortion in the fabric of reality. The goal was to test its potential for instantaneous travel. But the test had gone horribly wrong, and the results had been catastrophic. Amelia's hands shook as she held the phone to her ear, speaking to the engineer. "You're telling me that Flight 287 didn't just disappear because of a crash. It was something else. Something that shouldn't have happened?" The engineer's voice was tense, his words measured. "Yes. What they were experimenting with, what they were trying to achieve, was beyond anything we understood. The plane didn't just crash, Amelia. It was lost in a tear in space. There's a good chance it's still out there, somewhere, caught in a loop between dimensions." The realization hit Amelia like a ton of bricks. Flight 287 hadn't just crashed or vanished. It had been pulled into a completely different reality, a place where time and space bent in ways they could not comprehend. And if that were true, it meant that the passengers and crew of the flight were still alive, trapped in this otherworldly dimension, waiting to be found. The flight attendants began to prepare for descent as the plane neared its destination. Amelia's heart raced, the weight of the revelation pressing heavily on her chest. She wasn't sure what to make of it all, but one thing was clear. She had stumbled upon something monumental, something that could change the world forever. As she glanced out of the window once more, she saw a flash of light in the distance, followed by a strange ripple in the clouds. For a moment, Amelia thought she had imagined it, but then it happened again this time, closer, as if the sky itself was warping before her eyes. Her breath caught in her throat. The truth was out there, and she was about to uncover it, no matter what the cost.